Dot is a deaf and mute high school girl. Because of her disability, she hardly has any friends and is always alone. After the recent death of Dot's single father, her godmother's family has been taking care of her. Her new god sister, Nina, is not accustomed to having a sister and hates Dot for no reason. The two go to the same school, where Dot is a social outcast, while Nina is one of the popular girls. In the opening scene, Nina and her group of mean cheerleaders make fun of Dot's disability. The school's guidance counselor sees this and asks Dot to join her table for lunch. Dot refuses and runs to her favorite spot in the school, a bathroom stall. She feels safe and much less lonely when she is alone. Her happiness doesn't last long because Nina finds her and angrily pulls her out for the ride home. Nina's mother, Olivia, encourages her daughter to make Dot feel at home, but Nina cannot care less. Since it wasn't her decision to take her in, she doesn't feel responsible to do Dot any favor. In the evening, Nina's father, Paul, arrives home and finds Olivia passed out in the living room. She has a drinking problem and suffers from depression. Because she is on several antidepressants, Paul takes care of her and gets her to bed. On returning back to the dinner table, he notices an awkward silence between the girls. To cut the tension, he suggests they learn sign language for Dot, but Nina cuts him off and walks away. The following day, during lunch, Nina and her friends are gossiping as usual. Her friend Michelle brings up the topic of virginity and makes fun of Nina for being a 17-year-old virgin. She can have any guy she wants, but is reserved when it comes to dating. Meanwhile, Dot comes across the school's empty music room and takes the opportunity to play the piano. She used to practice when she was still hearing, hence she plays pretty well even without hearing the music. One of the popular guys, Connor, hears her play and is instantly smitten. He stares at her for a long time before pulling away when his friend interrupts. Later, Dot meets Nina in the washroom. She tries to mind her own business, but Nina forcefully makes her wear lipstick. Just when Dot thinks that this might be a bonding moment, she looks into the mirror and discovers that Nina purposely smeared lipstick around her lips. That night, Dot has a hard time falling asleep because she misses her father. When she goes outside for fresh air, she notices Nina's bedroom door open. Peeking inside, she sees Nina and Paul in bed together. The sight disturbs her to her core, making her run back to her room. The next day, at dinner, Nina asks to spend the night at Michelle's. Paul refuses, but Olivia encourages her. When Paul stays adamant, Nina rubs her feet up his leg under the table to seduce him into letting her go. He remains silent, which she takes as a yes. Paul is mad at Olivia for contradicting him, and they argue briefly before he walks away. When Olivia is alone, Dot hands her a note asking to go to the movies. Paul offers to drive her, and Dot agrees despite her discomfort. The movie hall is empty except for Nina and her squad. Connor sees Dot alone and wants to approach, but the others stop him. Nina feels somewhat bad for her, but keeps up her act of indifference. Dot catches her slipping when Nina closes her ears to imagine being deaf, stopping only when she notices Dot staring. Later that night, Dot pretends to be asleep as Paul comes downstairs. He strokes her hair and calls himself sick, admitting he hoped Dot's presence would stop his behavior toward Nina, but it didn't. In the next scene, Dot is home alone playing the piano. Unbeknownst to her, Nina watches from the doorway. Suddenly, a wire snaps, making Dot curse aloud. Nina freezes, realizing Dot could all this time. She pretends she just arrived home and doesn't mention the lie. The next day, at lunch, Nina sits with Dot and explains private details about her time with Paul to get a reaction. Dot remains calm, even when Nina claims she will use Michelle's gun to kill Paul. Afraid Nina is telling the truth, Dot goes to the music room. Connor stops her and tries to ask her on a date to work on a lab report, but fails when she shows him it's already finished. That night at dinner, Connor knocks at the door, surprising everyone. He asks Dot to go to the library, and she reluctantly agrees, just as Michelle arrives to hand a bag to Nina. Dot worries the gun is inside. Later, at a diner, Connor talks about the report before confessing his feelings. Thinking she cannot hear, he shares explicit details about how he imagines making love to her. Suddenly, Dot notices an ambulance driving toward her house and assumes Nina has done something bad. She rushes home, relieved to see everyone is safe. Following that, she walks toward Nina's room and hears Paul undressing her. Nina sounds sick of her father's behavior, so to help her, Dot breaks a statue. The noise interrupts them and Paul returns to his room. Nina is left crying in bed when Dot slips in and holds her as she falls asleep. In the following scene, Nina irons her cheer uniform while talking to Dot. She promises to kill Paul that night with the iron and burns a teddy bear's face for effect. Dot, still under the impression Nina doesn't know she can hear, pretends not to listen. Later that day, Nina and Michelle cheer for the basketball team. Connor is on the team but plays so poorly the coach benches him. After the game, Connor and Dot go by the pool. Connor, thinking she cannot hear, talks about his sex life. Suddenly, Dot takes off her top and they make love by the pool. Meanwhile, at home, Olivia suggests Nina and Connor would make a great couple. The comment makes Paul mad, and he accuses her of making their daughter dress like a slut. Olivia takes her clothes off and invites him to bed, but Paul no longer feels attracted to her. Nina returns home at midnight, tired from cheering. Paul gives her a handbag and makes advances. We notice Olivia is awake in her bedroom. She seems to know what is happening, but does nothing. Nina asks Paul to close his eyes for a surprise. She approaches him with a hot iron, seconds away from burning him, but Dot returns home and interrupts. Nina pulls back and claims she is pregnant. Paul is horrified at the thought of fathering his grandchild. When Nina asks for $1,000 for an abortion, he agrees to pay her the next day. Afterward, Nina goes to Dot's room and confesses she wasn't brave enough to kill him. The next day is the school dance. Nina lends Dot a dress and reveals she lied about the pregnancy. She plans to take the money and run away to become a stripper. She applies lipstick on Dot properly this time. Later, Paul finds tampons in Nina's bag, proving she lied about missing her period. He confronts her, slaps her, and forces himself on her. Olivia hears the crying but does nothing. Dot also hears the screaming, rips out a piano wire, and strangles Paul to death while telling him to leave Nina alone. Nina, in shock, curses Dot for killing her daddy. Olivia arrives, more shocked that Dot can speak than by her husband's death. As Michelle arrives to pick them up, the girls hide their bloody clothes in a bag and go to the dance to act normal. At school, Dot dances with Connor but is too distracted to focus. She takes the backpack and hides in a bathroom stall. Meanwhile, Olivia stares at Paul's body with an expressionless face, having fallen out of love with him long ago. The only thing Olivia regrets is not being brave enough to save her daughter from a monster like Paul. Somewhere else, Connor calls Dot's name as she's leaving the party and is shocked to see her turn around. He discovers that she can actually hear him. With the revelation, he also realizes that she knows all of his dirty secrets. He calls her a psycho for betraying him and violating his privacy. Dot tries to apologize but is shoved off. Knowing that he won't give her a chance at this moment, she focuses on more important matters. She gets Nina from the bathroom and takes her to a nearby creek. They bury the backpack with the clothes, planning to get rid of the body later. When Nina asks Dot why she pretended to be deaf all this time, she replies she wanted to be like her father, who was also deaf and mute. The girls then quickly rush home to the biggest surprise. Their house is surrounded by police and Olivia is being escorted out in handcuffs. They ask what happened, to which Olivia claims that she killed Paul. She also apologizes to Nina for what she did. While the police think it is because she killed their father, Nina understands the real reason behind the apology. In the last scene, the girls watch as the police take Olivia away in the car.